wish I was a doctor. It's only a master's. Dr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Sir.
Right. Yeah. He just, you guys don't know this, but he just sent this to me while we were talking.
Oh my goodness.
Does anybody know who Sir Earl Toon is?
Yeah.
He knows. Okay. The rest of you guys, you're too young. You're too young. Cool in the gang.
Cool in the game.
Yeah.
So, Sir Earl was one of my neighbors. And anyway, we had dinner Monday night, and he took this photo after dinner. And anyway, he said, "You know, I got this friend, Dr. Al Sullivan. You got to talk to him." And sure enough, I said, "Well, I bet he's going to be at Roscoe's birthday party." Sure enough, here you are. I'm pretty sure you guys figured out I'm not family. But I've known him a long time. Those of you that are interested, you can Google me. You can find out all kinds of stuff. Russell Fish. I'm going to tell you how Roscoe and I met. Good friend of mine, former Black Panther, J. Chris Daugherty. Not one of these new Black Panthers, a real new Black Panther. He came to see me one day, and he says, Russell, I want to do an education project of some sort. I said, what do you have in mind? And he said, well, I'm going to do a computer project. He'd just gotten a PhD in economics from Harvard, and he was a statistician. Boy, he could do that, man. He said, but Russell, you know how to do this computer stuff, and this is 25 years ago. And I said, okay, what do you want to do? He said, well, I want to analyze every elementary school in the state of Texas. And I want to find who the best ones, which are the best ones. And then I want to go visit them and see if we can figure out why the good ones are good. And I said, well, I think I can do that. I think I can write the program to do that. So it took us about a year, and that's what we did. And he brings in the printout. Back then we had printouts. We didn't have, iPhones and tablets and stuff. He brings out all a stack of paper, and it's all 7,000 schools, all sorted. And he goes, what do you think the number 2 elementary school is in Texas? And I said, I don't know, probably something in Highland Park. Those of you that are not from Dallas, you don't know where Highland Park is.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. No, I live in Highland Park.
Oh my.
I didn't live in Highland Park then. I live in Highland Park now. Anyway, I said it's probably one of the schools in Highland Park. You're right. So that's Armstrong Elementary, which happens to be right across the street from where I live now. He said, you're definitely not going to guess what's number 1. And I said, surprise me. And he goes, J.J. Rhodes. I said, I've never heard of J.J. Rhodes. He says, over by the Cotton Bowl, area they call Suicide Alley. And I said, okay. And he goes, 99% black, 99% free lunch, 100% success on TOS reading and TOS math. And I said, Chris, we are going to Dallas.
Yeah.
And made an appointment. And Chris and I drove up. And if you've ever been to J.J. Rhodes, you want to make sure you go in the daytime.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're a white man. Anyway, so we got to Rhodes, and the first person we met, and Roscoe, is it Ms. Jones? Is that who? Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones. She had a broken arm. She had a cast on her arm. And I found out that she was a disciplinarian. And she said, welcome to Rhodes. And she takes Chris and me into Dr. Smith's office. And we sit down, and he said, boys, what can I do for you? And so Chris gets out the stack of paper, and he goes through this, and he starts pointing out this and pointing out that. And Roscoe said, just a minute. So he calls in Ms. Jones. He calls in this other person. He calls in a bunch of his staff. He said, why don't you all see that? See what he's laying out here. Chris is laying out all of these schools all over the state, right at the top. J.J. Rhodes. What was astounding to me, and to this day is astounding, is nobody had told that man. Nobody had told Roscoe that he was number one. Nobody had told those kids they were number one.
Oh, yeah. Roscoe, they want to know.
I still get a little bit angry at that. Anyway, so Chris and I started coming up to Rhodes every Friday. We were visiting the top 100 schools. We were visiting as many of them as we could. We particularly liked Rhodes, and so we would come up every Friday. We'd spend the day. We would sit in the classes. We would talk to the kids. We would talk to the teachers. Of course, we would talk to Roscoe, talk to Ms. Jones. And over a period of about a year, we began to see patterns in Rhodes and some of the other schools. One of the other schools I was particularly fond of, your friend Thaddeus Lott, recently passed on. Wesley Elementary in Houston was another school we visited a lot. But we discovered the principles that make a successful school. And they were the same across class and race and so forth. Number one was leadership. That principle. That is the most important thing. There was not one successful school that didn't have a strong principle. It didn't matter if it's a man or woman. Those of you who know Roscoe, he's a strong man. That principle is that leader. That's that general. That's that football coach. Apparently, you were a football coach. I didn't know that about you. That collects the staff, collects the team, establishes the objectives, and then says, "Let's go take the hill." Well, anyway, that was first thing, Roscoe. Second thing is the staff, your assistants. Roscoe, when he first got to J.J. Rhodes, he didn't have the best staff. He told me that. And in DISD, you just can't, fire a teacher. You just can't do that. He explained to me, which I will not repeat, how he suggested to some of these teachers that couldn't keep up that maybe they would be happier someplace else. And that's how we built the staff. And he got some good ones. If you are not here to work, you go find another place to be. It is not about you, it is about these little kids. You get your head in a game or you get out.
Thank you.
Very important. Another thing was discipline. I had never heard some of the stories I heard tonight about him and trouble kids. But I'll tell you about Ms. Jones. I'm sorry, Ms. Jones. I said, how does Roscoe keep all of these kids, 520 kids or whatever it was, from tearing the place up? He said, well, he starts them young. He says, let me tell you about the first day of school. If you are a 4 or a 5-year-old little black kid, that means you're in pre-K or K, you come into the auditorium, first day of school, first time you've been, maybe the first time you've been away from home. There's Roscoe. He says, my name is Dr. Roscoe Smith. Welcome to J.J. Rhodes. Prepare to learn or die. And Ms. Jones said, and those kids, they are just scared. They are just shaking their boots. And she says it takes them about 3 or 4 weeks to figure out he's not going to eat them. But at the end of that 3 or 4 weeks, they know to sit in that chair, they know to raise their hand, they know to speak when spoken to, they know to get in the line. They are prepared to learn. Yeah. You can't do it without discipline. Final thing is curriculum. That's one of the things that Roscoe was criticized for. But one of the things he absolutely did right. He threw out the books, the DISD books, that they'd given to him. I think they were in a closet someplace. I think I saw them, but the kids never saw them. He used a program called a Becca book. A Becca. A Becca book. Google it. Google it. A Becca. A-B-E-K-A, I think. A Becca reading, a Becca math. The results of these 4 things that I just described showed up in the 1992-93 TOS report that Dr. Darty and I found. And I went to the Dallas School Board. I know the president of the board at the time. Remember Sandy Kress? Remember Sandy Kress? Yeah. I went to Sandy. I said, Sandy, what are you doing to copy Roscoe's success? He says, well, we're getting a lot of complaints. I said, who's complaining about Roscoe? He says, you wouldn't believe the complaints we're getting. I said, who's complaining about The people that were complaining about Roscoe is the parents who could not get their kids into J.J. Rhodes. And could not get Roscoe to be their principal. And ultimately, that forced Roscoe to Benton Harbor. Very, very huge loss for Dallas ISD. Because 5 years after he was gone, it was like he had not been there. If you go over to J.J. Rhodes today, I just want to cry. I just want to cry. Roscoe's legacy is in this room, but it's also probably those 500 or 600 kids at Rhodes. Probably the 4,000 or 5,000 kids at Benton Harbor. When he was up at Benton Harbor, he would send me those results every 6 weeks or so. And I just go, yeah, right on. I am proud to have Roscoe as my friend. He is a good friend. He is certainly a good man, good husband, good father, and of course a good Christian. Happy birthday.